Welcome to the Squared Circle Pit with your host, Robert Pasbani.
Welcome to the Squared Circle Pit. It's Rob here on NotFest.com for another fun hang. And I'm very excited about my special guest, someone I wanted to talk to for a long time about the art of pro wrestling. He himself is a podcast producer extraordinaire. You may have seen him on The Sessions with Renee Paquette or his own podcast, Wrasslerap, which, similar to Squared Circle Pit, looks at the connection between music and pro wrestling, but obviously with hip hop as opposed to rock music here. I'm talking about Emilio Sparks. Welcome, Emilio.
Oh, what's going on, my brother? How you doing? It's okay. It's all right.
There we go. I'm doing great. Thank you for taking some time to hang out with me. It's a great time in pro wrestling. I always feel like the spring is a really fun time, like right when we get past WrestleMania, because it's like the summer's right around the corner, and I feel like wrestling is a summertime sport, you know, like fun stuff happens in the summer.
I mean, for me, it's a year-round thing.
Oh, of course, I mean,
since I have, I got to pay attention and cover it. But yeah, it's always more interesting when the weather gets warmer because you're more prone to wanting to go to travel to go to these things. When it's cold, the last thing I want to do is go to Melrose Ballroom in Queens to watch some pro wrestling. But when it's nice and warm, I will travel to Queens to watch professional wrestling.
Yeah, hell yeah, exactly. So you are a fellow New Yorker. I like to start out the show by asking, what is your earliest pro wrestling memory?
It was SummerSlam '89.
Nice.
So my uncle, quick backstory real quick. So my uncle is about maybe 8 years my senior, and he legit put me on to professional wrestling. So like, I guess my grandmother or whoever like copied like the pay-per-view and gave us like 2 matches on the tape. And me and him would watch these 2 matches the entire, like run the tape back and forth. Like there was other shit on the tape, but it had nothing to do with pro wrestling. It was like cartoons, a movie and whatever. But there was these 2 specific wrestling matches. SummerSlam '89. It was DiBiase versus Jimmy Snuka. And it was half the match. And then the rest of the match was Brutus and Hogan versus Savage and Zeus. Yes. And I remember the promo that they cut, both of them, because they went both to the promos. And it was like Hogan was cutting this like promo where I guess Elizabeth was going to come out with him, and he was on the motorcycle, and he's talking about that he's riding into the city, brother, and he's got the legs, and he was like cutting his whole thing. It was really cool. Like, and as a kid, I'm like maybe 5, 6 at this time in '89. I don't like, my math ain't mathing right now, bro. But
6,
like, yeah. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was like,
yeah,
all right, whatever. So
Hogan is the man.
I was always more of a Savage guy, and then Savage
that was gonna be my next question.
And then Savage and Sherry and Zeus are like cutting this really spooky. Sherry had like a cauldron, and she's conjuring the look, but there wasn't really a cauldron. It was just them looking down, and she's babbling some nonsense, and Savage is being all savage, and just his promo is not making any sense, and Zeus is just yelling and banging his chest. And I was like, whatever this is, I want in.
This is me.
This is me. Vibe. I feel seen. I feel heard. As a 6-year-old, I wanted sequin capes. I wanted ornate headbands. I wanted a valet. I wanted the whole 9. I was hooking up.
So
to
from
my
there,
vein.
you were in. Were you watching week to week? Were you watching Superstars and Wrestling Challenge?
Absolutely. Every Sunday, Channel 5. Cold cut sandwiches as a kid, bologna and cheese, turkey on semolina bread.
Was, I mean, I feel like there was also like a block of cartoons beforehand. It was like the perfect morning. Like Saturday mornings ruled.
Hey, listen, Fox 5 used to rip as a kid in like the 80s and 90s. Like people don't understand what it is now because it's just overrun with a ton of Big Bang Theory reruns, but it used to rip, like legit rip. Like it was,
Yeah.
to me, it was yeah, that and WPIX used to rip.
Agreed. Yeah, they would have really good cartoon blocks. Like, I mean, like there was the X-Men series and the spy, all those like Marvel cartoons that were great, and the Batman animated series. It was
Series
just
that was during the day. Then you had Power Rangers at like 2:30 in the afternoon. Like, I was just like,
yeah.
sign me up, man. Like, I don't want to go to school. I got out of school at 3. I'm gonna miss Power Rangers at 2:30. Shit, no way.
Gotta set the VCR.
Please, we didn't have one of those.
So, Northeast guy, basically WWE territory.
Oh
Were
yeah.
you keeping up with WCW at all, or did that come later?
It came later. It came literally my first recollection of it. I didn't have cable until I was like 12 years old. So it was like the only time
Yeah,
I would
same.
literally understand what WCW was through the pages of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Like, I knew it existed because I had friends that would talk about like Big Van Vader and this guy named Sting and whatever. And
Yeah.
I knew of Ric Flair because he was WWE champion at the time, going into WrestleMania 8. So I knew who Ric Flair was, but I never seen anything that Ric Flair did in WCW. I would read about it because I had all these, like, my uncle again would just give me the Pro Wrestling Illustrateds, and he was like, read these. So that's how I knew of guys like Brian Pillman and Steve Austin and Rick Steamboat, because again, I was too young to get the Rick Steamboat in WWE, but I was just I was at the right age to read about Rick Steamboat in WCW. So then I get cable.
And I want to ask you here. So, as a Northeast guy, because I talk about this all the time, was your building just not wired for cable until you were 12 years old?
It just didn't exist. It was just
Same.
wasn't a
Some
thing.
people are like, "What?" Like, no, there was
Yeah,
you
no,
couldn't
like they
get
don't.
cable in New York.
No, you couldn't,
Yeah.
and I just didn't have it. And then we moved, and magically you get cable, and you're like, oh, what is this?
Did you get the hot box?
No, we never got the hot box, but again, it
Oh,
was just a world of just whatever at that point, because it was just like,
yeah.
here's the clicker, that was the babysitter. I didn't play sports growing up as a kid, wasn't really into that. I would watch sports. Emilio Sparks was a sports watcher, but a sports doer, I was not about that life. That would come years later. But man, you give me that, and I was like, all right, what is this? So this is now WCW. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is WCW Saturday Night that I've read about. Okay, cool. This is Buff Bagwell. This is Too Cold Scorpio. All right, great. I'm in. Where's Vinny Vegas? And then it just turns out that Vinny Vegas wasn't there because he was Diesel in WWF. I was like, okay, let's go. And that was it. So that's right. And that's how I learned about it. And then a week later, Nitro pops on, and I'm like, what is this? Oh my God, wait, Lex Luger was just here. I didn't know he was a WCW guy. But again, you go back, I call my uncle on the phone. Rotary phones still were the rage back then. And now he's like 18, 19, and I'm like 12. And I'm like, yo, he's like, yes, here's these magazines. Read them, idiot. And they're old back issues. I'm reading about all this stuff. I was like, man, Luger was the dude. They should have put the championship on him when he was in WWE. Shit.
For me, before the internet was really like internet wrestling, I had AOL. Certainly there were chat rooms, but I found like a flyer outside of a garden house show for a hotline, a wrestling hotline. It was like a 212 hotline, and it's an answering machine, essentially, that like once a week this guy would just like summarize the Observer or whatever, and just be like,
Right.
hey, look out for this guy coming. I'm like, how does he know this stuff? Like, it was the first time I ever heard like TV taping results, and then I would watch Shotgun, and I knew all the winners, and I was like, how does he get this information?
What is going on? Yeah, no, I was the I didn't call those lines. I didn't call the WCW hotline 1-900-909-9900.
Yeah. No, I didn't do those.
Like, I wasn't even calling those. But I would read. I don't know if you remember it. I don't know if it was the Daily News or the New York Post.
Yeah, it was the News. It was the.
But
Daily
it had
News.
the slammer. The guy he was a columnist, and he was the slammer. And I was like, who is this man? Why does he know all this? And why is it a blurb this big in the back? And I got to like literally search it. It was like literally this big, this wide. And I was like, but yeah, no, man, that was it. And I didn't do forums. I didn't do like the Observer. That just wasn't my jam. I didn't need to know how the sauce was made. I just wanted to enjoy the taste. I knew these things existed, but I was like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm gonna take a pass. And still to this day, like I don't subscribe to those things. I have a few contacts, within those worlds, but I'm like, I'm good, man. Like,
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like now anybody's an insider. Like with social media, like you don't need to subscribe to Dave Meltzer because like it gets passed down like telephone to
yeah.
like the fifth source, and somehow like my buddy who's totally not into inside wrestling will know. Hey, I heard this guy's coming to AEW. Like I saw it on Facebook
Well,
or whatever.
I think guys like Meltzer should get his flowers because he revolutionized what is supposed to be tabloid journalism within the world of professional wrestling, right? But then I
I
also
agree.
think he's hindered a lot of it, or maybe his contemporaries have hindered what journalism is, or dirt sheet or tabloid journalism is. I don't think there's anything different between a Dave Meltzer or a Wojnarowski, on Twitter, like a big Woj who breaks down everything sports for ESPN. But what I do think it gives way to is the bad faith takers, and then because then they all of a sudden on Twitter now become um a source of negativity. And if you know how to tweet and work the algorithm just right, you're going to be labeled as an expert. Meanwhile, guys like Meltzer and Sean Ross Sapp and a couple other cats who really dedicate their lives to making sure that there's credible sources and that the information is actually on point and they're not just being worked just to throw off the scent. I think that takes a lot of work. I think,
Agreed.
but what I think hinders it is a lot of bad takes, uh,
Yeah.
and individuals getting paid to write for these bigger sports companies, and they don't really have the facts to back it up, or they go on their own social media and then they start to just go off. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, this is not what it's about, man. It's not about that. It's about the facts, the figures, and getting the information out there. And then but again, that gave birth to a ton of opinionists. And
Well,
I'm all right
beyond
with
that, though, the other thing that kind of bothers me is that people will interpret what Dave Meltzer says, and like he could be speculating, just him and Brian Alvarez are just talking. And he's like, "Oh, I think this might be something," and it's totally him, like with no sources or anything, just giving his opinion, and then someone takes it and repackages it for their website, and like you said, to get the algorithm going, words it in such a way where it's not at all what he said, but like it's presented as fact, even though it's just him being like, "Oh, I think maybe this will be that."
Yeah.
I don't have a specific example at the moment,
No,
but
no,
that
no.
really bothers me.
No, that makes sense because that happens a lot. Like that
Yeah.
happens a lot. And I've read things that I know are complete bullshit. And then I would text I'm best friends with Big E. He's one of my guys. So like, if somebody would say something about like the New Day or whatever, and it would be a hot take on social media, and people believe that it would be a thing, I would just send it to him or he would send it to me, and we would have a chuckle about it because it couldn't be farther from the truth,
Agreed. Yeah.
And it was always one of those things. And I'm like, well, if it doesn't come from, and personally for me, if it doesn't come from Dave or if it doesn't come from a Sean Ross Sapp, I'm not really paying attention to it. I think those two are the cream of the crop when it comes to having valid sources and really breaking some things. So
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I don't pay attention to the rest of the fodder. If I want an
Same.
opinion, I'm gonna watch wrestling and then I'm gonna tweet it myself.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what's interesting, like in the mainstream news world, how like fake news kind of popped up, 6 years ago, or whatever. Like as a wrestling fan, I was like so used to it. There's so much you have to like really weed through everything and to understand like which is real. Like oh, my sources tell me. It's like, who the fuck are you? You have 200 followers. Like I don't trust you.
Right.
Like anybody could tweet my sources
No,
tell
but
me.
then also too, they will feed individuals like nonsense.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they will, like WWE has done that before. They will feed a dirt sheet nonsense to throw the scent off.
I'm
Like
sure.
how nobody was able to leak Roderick Strong leaving WWE and coming to AEW. To me, one of the best kept secrets in like that was so dope because it made
Agreed.
you really look at the TV and go, "What? Huh? How did this happen?" In an age where they will leak somebody sneezing wrong, the fact that Roderick Strong was able to show up on the competition, get past because it's NXT, they only do 30-day contracts. So once their expiration date is over, WWE, if you're main roster, it's 90. If it's NXT, I believe it's still 30. I don't know if that's still the case, but Roderick Strong was off WWE TV for a very long time. And who knew that he was going to pop up and become All Elite? That was really cool. And how it didn't leak anywhere, completely impressive.
Agreed. And I
Completely
think
impressive.
AEW is really good at like holding on to things that they don't want people to know about.
Yeah.
You know, if they just keep it, you know, close, they definitely keep a lot of stuff close to us. Even where Meltzer's like, they won't even tell me. I'm asking them. They're not telling me.
Wow, see, I think that's cool though.
Agreed. I agree. You need surprises.
Specifically, right? Like like one of the hotbed topics has always been CM Punk and the Elite. Like, you know, that big brawl
Of
out.
course.
To me, I don't feel that it's necessary to have the policies or just the situations be broadcasted on the internet, right? I don't think that should be a thing. Whatever happened between those individuals should be between those individuals and who witnessed
Agreed.
it. It's none of our business because guess what? We're still going to watch the product, but now we're being fed information from several different sources. And now we're left to our own devices to make up our own narrative to write the story about what goes on when it might not necessarily be fact. And to me, that's where I think it becomes like all hearsay and opinion is based. And like you said before, if somebody has 200 followers and they're only like, well, my sources are saying this, it's like, bruh, stop.
Yeah.
Don't chill out. Like let's
And
calm
even
down.
with that, with the brawl out, you know, there's two sides to the story than the truth. So like we're hearing like,
Right.
well, I hear from CM Punk's friends that he said this. Well, I hear from, you know,
Right.
the Young Bucks side that he said this. So it's like, well, everyone has ulterior motives. Who like someone could not be honest, and you don't know. We weren't there, you know. So how will we know?
No, and I guess again that's the thing, right? Like Twitter gets one thing and then it starts to go. Like somebody flipped the narrative of the Britt Baker T-shirt because they did a
Oh my
take,
god.
and then the again it hits the algorithm at the right time, and then it takes off, and now you're getting all these opinions,
Mhm.
and there is no fact until the point where the talent now has to speak about this and talk about it, and then has to defend the shirt in which the company is selling. And it's a cool shirt. It's a
And
cool
that's the
shirt.
other thing. I feel like there's so many bad faith takes nowadays. Going
Oh,
back to what we're talking about with, you know, discovering Nitro and watching Raw and Nitro and not being necessarily, you know, there was no Twitter back then. I feel like if you were a wrestling fan in the late 90s, in the Attitude Era-ish, Monday Night Wars era, you're a fan of all wrestling. Like I
absolutely.
watched everything. I watched WWE, WCW. I stayed up till 3 a.m. to watch ECW on MSG. You know,
Yeah, dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
If there was like some weird syndicated CBS, you know, Sunday morning show for like 10 weeks, I would watch that until it got canceled. I watch all wrestling, and I still feel that way. I still
Yeah.
want to watch
Same.
everything, even the stuff that I don't watch. I don't necessarily have time to watch Impact. I still keep up with the results. I'm happy that people have work there, you know, like
I
people,
watch it every
wrestlers.
week. But also too,
I think I'm gonna get into it
you
because
have
I've
to.
been
It's
reading. It
great.
looks
No,
like they have a
it's
great roster now.
They do. They have an incredible roster. Their women's division, I think, is the best women's division in professional wrestling right now. And I know people will probably come at me for that. But if you go back and you watch the last 2 years of what the company's been doing, their women's division is very, very solid. And I think now with the infusion of Trinity Fatu, they're only going to get more eyes on them, and you're going to see the athleticism because she's there now, and she is, to me, that missing puzzle piece to take that division and bring it up to the next level. But also too, I was fortunate enough because I was ripping and rocking with Gallows and Anderson, producing Talking Shop for about
Oh,
3
that's
years,
right.
and they were at Impact, so I got to really hang out and get to know a lot of talented individuals there. And I like Steve Macklin as Impact World Champion. I think I really started to pay attention to Steve Macklin when he wrestled Jonathan Gresham at a series of tapings in Fort Worth, Texas a few years ago. Maybe like a year, maybe 2 years ago now. It was a minute ago, but like I was watching them just go through the motions and then go out there and do it. And I was so impressed with how good that they were and how in sync that they were. And people never really gave Steve Macklin a chance because he was one of the forgotten sons and all that nonsense happened. And he got thrown in the mix with that. And then now he's really had to prove and put the work into to change. And he did. And now he is holding the pinnacle of the company around his waist. And to me, I think that's a great come up. I think that's a great story. So pay attention to Steve Macklin. I think Chris Bay and Ace Austin are an incredible tag team.
They're great. Yeah.
I think Chris Bay to me is one of the best out there today doing it. So to see him as a former X Division champion and now an Impact World Tag Team champion, I think the sky's the limit for Chris there. And hopefully one day we'll get to say Chris Bay is Impact World Champion. I think Matt Cardona is just hands down one of the most entertaining individuals on the professional wrestling scene today. And what Matt does there is fantastic. I like Joe Henry there as well. They have a lot of great people. Willie Mack
Mike
is
Bailey.
entertaining. Mike Bailey is to me that dude right now. Like
I think he's the hottest, like I guess he's signed to Impact, but like the hottest like indie guy right now. Cause during WrestleMania weekend, he was in like 4 insane matches that I saw. And that wasn't even half of the matches he had. He had like 10 matches.
And that's 2 years in a row because there's always that one like indie darling that has the breakout year at WrestleMania weekend where they're going to do all the matches. They're going to just step it up. And it was Mike 2 years in a row. It was Mike
I saw
in
Mike in
2021
PWG like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and I was like, this guy's great, and he's so unique with the karate stuff. You don't really see that. And then he had that visa issue where he couldn't come into the States for 5
years,
which is
yeah.
I was like, oh no, his career is fucked. But you know, those 5 years flew by. And now I feel like he's leveled up. He's like a way more intense, great wrestler than even before then.
Absolutely. And I think he also has a great mouthpiece in Veda Scott as well. You know, Veda is a talented individual in their own right. And, you know, listening to Veda on commentary really cements, I guess, just how like because they're a couple. So it's great to see the support system there. And when Veda works, they'll team with Mike and they're called the Lawbirds or Bird Law. I forget what it was, but I think it's such a clever name. And, you know, the story is so interesting. Their love story is super interesting, how they battled through a pandemic and how they battled through visa issues. Very, very cool stuff. You know, Veda was a guest on Renee's show and they went into the story. And it was just it's good stuff, you know, like that's the type of stories that I like to produce as a podcasting producer or even as a podcasting host. I like to have things with heart and tone, and I like things to be told with depth and feel, even more so than what maybe sometimes we're given. And if you can pull that out of a person and really have them open up, sky's the limit about what you can get out of them. And to me, that's more important than the tribalism and the flag waving of, well, I only watch one company and every other company is complete dog shit. I think that is ridiculous. Like you said before, if you're a professional wrestling fan, you have to watch everything. And you should watch everything because it's supposed to be a unique palette, right? Our palettes are supposed to be unique with this, right? Like I like Joshi wrestling. I like Lucha Libre wrestling. I like Japanese wrestling. Give me two big hosses just slapping meats. I'm down for that.
Yes.
Give me some high flying stuff. Give me chain wrestling. I'm a big bump and feed guy. I'll watch old stuff with Rick Rude and Tully Blanchard bumping and feeding all day. Then I'll sit back and I'll find the tape of Johnny Saint doing some English, British strong style or just catch, and I'll pop that the man's working a cravat. So like what? Just give me a unique blend of the herbs and spices that really makes pro wrestling the most unique entertainment medium in the world. It does not get better than this. And it's one of the last true like American subcultures, if you think about it, televised American wrestling.
I absolutely agree, and and there's so many different ways to do it, like you said, and that's why I like watching different promotion. There's no set way to do like pro wrestling, because, like you said, it's entertainment. It's a structure that you work around to tell a story. So there's many different ways to do it. I remember the first time I saw Lucha Libre, on Telemundo or whatever, just flipping, and I was blown away. I was like, this is not WWF. This is not WCW. This is its own thing. And this is and it's my favorite style of wrestling, because I feel like you don't need any context to enjoy Lucha Libre. Within 3 seconds, you're hooked.
Have you went to Arena Mexico?
It is very much on my list to do. I think I might go this fall. Like I'm ready to do it. I need to do it.
So have you ever been to Tijuana then and went to that other arena where Crash runs out of?
No. I've watched plenty of streams, but I'm dying to see wrestling in Mexico. Okay, I know it's insane.
I got the opportunity. I had the rare opportunity. For a little while, I was a producer and on-camera host for MLW. Shout out to Court Bauer. And we went to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Mexico. It was one of the coolest experiences I ever had producing professional wrestling. I thought it was just incredible. They gave us the option. You could drive into the border or you can walk across the border. I chose to walk across the border.
You gotta walk. That's what I heard.
Because that's the journey,
that's
man.
The move. Yeah.
That's the move, right? And we walk across and we get into the buses and then we go to the arena. But you're getting the full experience of what it's supposed to be, right? Like, so I was traveling. Big shouts to Danny Limelight, Slice Boogie, and Mil Muertes. And we're all walking there, and Mil's got the mask on and everything. Because now he's going to Mexico. He's going home. Right. Like he can't walk around without the mask on. He has to be the dude. You know what I'm saying? And at the moment we got out of the Uber, the mask went on, and he started walking, and just heads were turning left and right, man. And the moment we got over, and we showed our passports, we got through customs. It was like there was like this groundswell of people going to Danny, Slice, and Mil Muertes. And I'm just sitting back there, total gringo, like, eating an acai bowl, like, as I'm like just walking through whatever. But we got to experience this cool thing. And then we go and we get our packets for the TV. I'm producing a match. Big shout out to EJ and Duca and Adrian Quest. I got to produce a match with them. And nice. I got to produce some really cool TV. And I was able to see Vikingo do the Vikingo things before it became the thing online to see. Mm-hmm. And I got to see guys like him and Aerostar and Psycho Clown and all these other really fantastic workers. Again, seeing like in wrestling magazines, because I still will read Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So these names will still live in there. And then the things that we see on the internet and you just want to read, and to see it live. And then you have like a whole bunch of drunk fans drinking beers with like the hot sauce around the top, and they're selling bootleg wrestling merch. I mean, people were trying to sell me John Cena action figures, but it wasn't supposed to be John Cena. It was supposed to be somebody else. And, like 8x10 autographs of LA Park and all of this stuff. And like all these like cool masks, like light up toys and bubble guns with like the bubbles would shoot out of the guns. Like this is what they're selling at a wrestling show. And they're coming out with plates of food. You can get birria tacos and all of this really great stuff, right? It's probably to me the best experience to go and watch a professional wrestling event outside of the country. My goal is to go to Japan and watch a Wrestle Kingdom, but to
Yeah.
go and to sit and be part of this show and plan out part of this show and to do TV at the show, where at one point we were like, okay, we had 5150, Danny Limelight and Slice Boogie. We're going to brawl with, what was his name? He has Arrow Star and not Draga, but like there was another guy with the mask, and he was in Lucha Underground. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
What was the mask?
It was a dragon mask.
Oh, so not Drago. I know the guy you're talking.
Maybe it was because
I think it's Drago. Are you talking Daga?
Yeah, I always get those two confused.
It's Draga. Yeah,
it was Drago, and so we wanted to do something really cool where I wanted to have our camera guy go and do a handheld thing as the crowd's coming in. You know, you see like Drago and Aerostar like doing a meet and greet, and out comes 5150. And then they start brawling down this like tube hallway, and the crowd is all into it. And then we had security like trying to break it up, and I had like a 2-camera shoot going, and it was so cool because the fans were into it. I told them at the same time, bring out your phones, film it, tag us in it, and it was super cool. Like it was to the point where it looked like
have been a trip. Like I produced this. Like I made this happen.
It was a trip. And then to see the people that you work with get money thrown at them because they crushed their match, right? I was like, I'm all in, man. To see individuals look at EJ and Duca wrestle for the first time in Mexico, right? Incredible. Like the whole scene there was just fantastic. And there's like 6,000 people. It's sold out. Crash is just super dope promotion. And I'm like, yo, this place is rocking. This is legit right before international travel bans really got heavy. And mind you, we're still in the pandemic at this point, right? Like, yes, stipulations started to loosen up a little bit, but people were nervous that we weren't going to be able to get back into the country because,
Listen,
I'm an idiot and I will forget to bring things like, I forgot my proof of vaccination card. I'm screwed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I forgot that card several times when I've traveled for work. And I'm like, what am I? So it's like, all right, we'll see what happens. Just haphazardly throwing it into the wind, and whatever the universe does. But it was incredible experience. It was just and then we walked back over again, coming home. And it was just like, wow, that was an incredible 16 hours in Mexico. It was incredible. So to me, you have to go and watch something out of your comfort zone if you've never, seen it before.
Last time I was in LA, I almost did the Tijuana trip, but
you should.
The crew that I was trying to assemble, like it all fell apart at the last minute. But I definitely and like you said, like I'm dying to see wrestling in Japan. I want to go to Kurikan Hall. I want to like Tokyo Dome, or maybe like the Osaka Joe Hall.
Oh, you got to go there. You got to do it all.
I want to go. I don't necessarily want to do Wrestle Kingdom because it's like freezing in the winter. I want to go in like the spring for like right around now, like next year. My plan, my goal, I want to say, is to go around Dontaku because springtime it's nice, good weather. Cherry blossoms, got the sakura, and yeah. So same, and I love doing wrestling tourism. It started with me actually with AEW last year. I went to 4 of the 5 pay-per-views, and it was fucking great. I loved it. It was like the highest high I would have, without doing any drugs.
That's cool.
So I highly recommend doing it. I'm going to Forbidden Door again this year because it was in Toronto. I was like, I'll take a trip to Toronto. And Forbidden Door was the best time I've ever had at a live event. So I was like, okay, why not do it again and go to Toronto at the same time? But what I wanted to ask you, as we're winding down, I want to talk about your love of music as well, because there's two elements to this: the music and the wrestling.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming when you got MTV, that's when you started really discovering artists. But like, how did you get drawn into hip hop?
Um, your friends would just make mixtapes.
Yeah,
And you would old school tape the radio and just hit the songs that you knew. Big fans of Stretch and Bobito, college radio. They were the legends. I mean, they were the mix show gods, them and Funk Master
yeah,
Flex real early on. So if you can catch like a Funk Master Flex set and Flex is killing it for 30 minutes uninterrupted, you're recording that entire 30 minutes on cassette tape. And then you're doing the same thing for Stretch and Bob. And then, like, in junior high school, one of my dudes that I'm still friends with to this day moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, and he took all this music with him from his older brother and sister. And I got put on to Too Short. I got put on to Tupac. I got put on to MC like 8. I got put on to like Exhibit. So, like there was a ton of really dope like artists that I was just learning from and just tape trading and collecting. And then, living in Staten Island, Wu-Tang was the
everything.
gods. It was
Yeah,
everything. I remember putting up promotional posters when they were dropping Wu-Tang Forever. I mean, my dad got me the Wu-Tang Clan CD, the 36 Chambers. It was a cassette tape. My father's a union construction worker by trade, so I guess some of his coworkers were bumping it during lunch, and like he went after work and was like, "Here, listen to it. Here you go, enjoy it." And it was raunchy and raw, and my parents did not care, like. And then when you fast forward and you get a good grade in school or a report card, which was few and far and in between for me when I was a kid. But what do you want? All right, we're gonna reward you because you worked hard this semester. What do you want? The purple tape. I want only built for Cuban links. All right, let's do it. And then we went to like Sam Goody, got the tape, and that was that. Like that's what I was listening to as well. But then,
yeah,
and then I got into it's crazy. Then when I got into like high school and then like into my later more formative years in college, that's when I got into like punk rock, and I got into like old school hair metal and working at Sirius, and doing all that at the time. You're listening to other stuff and programming other stuff. And, Shade 45 was always my end goal. And I got there and I did that. And I was there for almost a decade. And, but then, you've been there, you worked there. Shocked we never really talked like this when we were coworkers, for Christ's sake. But,
well, my goal was to just get in and get the fuck out of there. I wasn't getting paid hourly, so
I was getting paid
Yeah.
hourly, so I didn't give a shit. Like, hey, you need me there for 12 hours, you got it. I'm putting it on the time. But like, it was talking to Sean the Butcher about like all this stuff, and Sean will put me
Yeah.
onto some really cool bands. And talking to Brian Cullen, that's the punk rock god. Talking to him and doing shots of Jaeger with Jose Meng and Hey Brother. Like just
Yeah.
it was a cool experience to learn about different different music there that I never would have had the opportunity to listen to. You know what I mean? Like I knew of
Absolutely. I
the
had the same experience, just the other way, like with the BPM guys and like
right,
like, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't really listen to this, but this is great.
right,
Like this
right,
is,
right. And to me,
and now
that
I'm
was
super into electronic.
I don't blame you, man. Like
Yeah.
I love, I love liquid metal, because
Mhm.
Sean's one of my like dear friends. I'm always gonna peep what Butcher does. And if I ask him,
Yeah.
like he put me on to Code Orange.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
I
And
was like,
there's a
let's
certain
go.
crossover. Yeah. And likewise, like for me, I love listening to like Rock the Bells radio
Yeah.
and Fly. I just want that old school, like the 90s and the classic stuff.
Right. Listen, man, and to me, I thought that place was incredibly cool. It also had its it had its negative connotation as well. But I was
The
able,
people there were great. The
right?
corporate
Not
stuff,
so much.
obviously, not
Yeah,
so good. But
not so
everyone who
good.
worked there, you kind of had to want to work there because, look, let's be
Yeah,
honest, the pay not
yeah,
so
well,
great.
not so great.
So you had to want to be there,
Right. And jumping through enough red tape to want to do things like all this stuff that
right?
I'm able to do now, even doing a WrestleMania takeover with DJ Who Kid and having guys like Adonis the Ashante and Top Dollar come in, and Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes and the Giant Omos and MVP come in, and we did this entire takeover. I pitched that for years, but it just wasn't the right time. I'm a big believer in patience and virtue, and it will come if it makes sense. And Who Kid rediscovered his love of professional wrestling. This is the same guy that met Andre the Giant when he was a kid, and he was enthralled in professional wrestling. And and now to be able to have Who Kid pop up on AEW TV and interview WWE wrestlers because he watches everything now, especially when he's on tour and he's got like these long like delays. He'll just pop on like his streaming service and he'll watch everything, and then he'll text me about it, which is super cool. But to have somebody you respect and that you actually worked with say, hey, let's get some individuals and pick up the phone and make the phone calls, and then I want you to lead the interviews. To me, it's incredibly bittersweet, and it was an incredibly cool moment to do this past WrestleMania in the LA studios. But it's like what you said, like it's what you make of it. It's you gotta want to be there, and the individuals that are there are talented and dedicated to their craft, and everybody's a nerd. And even in like life, that we all have our nerdy thing that we like to hone in on. And I was able to get several platinum plaques because I was able to work a couple of records. And I don't think any other board operator has platinum plaques. Like I got several that are adorning my wall right now. So it's like I'm with it. So I'm just like my experience was incredible there. My music history was incredible. I learned because of the guys like Jeremy Tepper, I learned about outlaw country, and I really got into that now. Like
Yes,
where like
exactly.
I'm banging that as well. So like give me it all, dude. Like let's
Yeah.
go. Life is too short to just like I like one thing. This is my flavor of ice cream, and I'm done. Like I'm hyped for Backlash, and I'm hyped to see whether or not AEW is going to sell out in Wembley, and I think they're
Yeah,
going to
it's
do
looking
it.
good. I think they're going to do it too. They're off to a great start, and the
So
hype is there.
it is the hype is there. So to me,
Yeah.
like like ingest it all because you're going to get some really cool stuff.
I do want to talk about Backlash as well, like do
Please.
like a quick
Dude,
preview.
I'm not going anywhere. You want to hang out?
Great.
Let's hang
Let's hang out.
out. I got
Excellent.
some
But
water. I'm straight. Go ahead.
before we get to Backlash, I just
Yeah.
want to ask what I was getting at with the hip hop stuff is I think much like with hard rock, I feel there's a huge connection, almost for a long time underserved between hip hop and pro wrestling.
Oh,
Like in the
absolutely.
late '90s, there was new metal in wrestling and hip
Yeah.
hop. There was
Yes.
like Lil Kim, Run DMC did that DX theme remix, which was so awesome. There was that Wyclef Jean song. They did a whole rap album. They did, what was it called? Aggression or something?
Yeah.
It
Aggression.
was
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
it was a very wild time. And so obviously you see the connection here. And even like into modern day, I think the best example of it is WaleMania, which has become like one of the fucking like when I was in LA, everyone was like, dude, WaleMania is like, are you going like that's like the go-to party of the weekend now.
Rob, why didn't you text me to come?
I should have. I don't know. I honestly, it was like there was a what was on? It was like a DDT show or something. I really wanted to see that dumb DDT show with the the blow up doll, but
Yeah. No,
I
well,
had
listen, like,
massive
right. It makes
yes.
sense. Yeah.
Kikutaro, yes. And
Yeah.
again, it's like a taste of Japan. I had to be there, but I had huge FOMO because it looked like such a fun hang.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you're going to want to come to Philly.
I'll be there.
It's
I'm there.
we're already planning it. Like we're already planning it.
How,
Like,
how
you're
did
gonna
the
want to come.
how did the original idea pop up?
It
What, do you remember
was
how it started?
yeah, it was just Wale wanted to just bridge his love of professional wrestling and what he does for a living, his job. And he wanted to make a splash in wrestling without bumping in a ring, and he wanted to do something that was a little different. He wanted to make it a chill atmosphere for several different companies to all come together and kick it, and you get to see a really great performance from a Grammy-nominated multi-platinum artist. And his famous rap friends are going to come and hang out and dazzle you as well with
It is
similes
the
and
true Forbidden
metaphors.
Door. I feel
It
like
really,
it is the
it
old,
really
like
is.
you just see these like the photos that come out are like incredible. Like you'll see
Rob, we did the
just an
first one
AEW.
at like a dive bar, and
Mhm.
and and to see where it's at now, where we sold out the Novo in Los Angeles, and we sold out
Which is a legit like $5,000, 5,000, or like 2,000. What's the cap? But
it's
it's a big
2,500.
venue.
It's 2,500. We
2,500.
sold out.
Okay.
We sold it out, yeah. And then to do House of Blues, which was about in Dallas. I don't remember. I think it was about 2,000. Like we sold
I
that
mean,
out.
hey, for a party.
Right, but the coolest part is, yeah, the wrestlers come and everybody wants to come to it. That's great. But the coolest part is having the moment with the crowd, because we know, me and Kazim and Wale, we know, we lay out the show. We know what's about to happen, right? But that joy is the cool thing is to just do it, right? And let them be the driving force for it, right? Like when we did and big shout outs to David Shoemaker and the Ringer. Kaz and David did a podcast beforehand, and they were interviewing the Bloodline, the Usos and Solo Sikoa. And I told Kaz and David, I was like, listen, I'm about 45 minutes into your thing. Like, I'm gonna come out again because we introduced everybody. I'm gonna come out and try to get Solo Sikoa to eat a potato chip out of my hand. And they were like, yeah, he wasn't, because he doesn't break character.
Mhm.
And like the first time I like opened the bag, I'm putting it in his like face, like letting the odor like waft into the nostrils. And Solo Sikoa is fantastic. Like he understands improv, right? Like professional wrestling, like you can take all the UCB classes you want, but you're not like the ultimate performance art is what these guys do, because how quickly they do it on the fly. And now at this point, like I knew he was gonna do it with me, because he like gave me a little wink, like he turned his head, looked at me, and gave me a wink, and then turned back. I was like, okay. And then at one point, like I leave, I come back out again. Now I'm eating the chips as they're talking, and now the Usos are looking at me, and they're starting to pop. And Solo is like, "Feed me a chip." I'm like, "You serious?" He's like, "Feed me a chip." I take the chip out of the bag and I go, and we do it. And we pause to get the crowd going. We're building up, and to feed this grown man a chip and the crowd goes insane is crazy. Then at the end, when they're about to end, Kaz and David ask, a really great question, and Solo Sikoa speaks. And it was in reference to Cody Rhodes, and he said, "Cody, you don't think I'm ready? Like, you don't think I'm fucking ready?"
Oh yeah.
Like the WaleMania, do y'all think I'm fucking ready? And the crowd erupts, and that's how they end. And like so, right then and there, we took them on a journey, and now at this point, they're rocking. Right, we got this crowd. We knew we had some really dope music playing. It was like all like just dope hip hop, like some of the best. Like you want to take it to the club, you want to take it to the street. You got the hype records, whatever, right? Me and Kaz come out. We're throwing out WWE 2K23 DVDs. We're having a dandy of a time here. A couple wrestlers come out. We surprise everybody. Blah 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 blah. Adam Cole and Britt Baker show up. Nobody knows. We were advertising Britt because Britt was on the but nobody knew Adam was coming. Like we specifically we kept that on the QT because we wanted them to come out together. And Adam comes out, Brittany comes out, and we're doing the DMD, and the crowd's going crazy for that. So she talks, and I ask her, like you say, world championship or bust, 5 years, but what do you think? And you expect the unexpected, blah 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 blah. Then we do the people are starting to chant, Adam Cole, baby, Adam. And I was like, no, you just don't say that. Do you want to do the thing with us? And Adam's looking at me. He's like, do you think they deserve the thing? And I go, WaleMania, do you deserve the thing? I was like, DMD, do they deserve the thing? And they were like, yeah. I was like, are you guys going to do it with us? I was like, Kaz, you could come on. We got to do this. And then we all did the, oh, Adam Cole, baby. So like, 2,500 people screaming that. And then he says, oh, well, we gotta boom it out before we all walk off the stage. And I'm like, whoa, WaleMania, do you want to do the boom? And then the crowd wanted to do the boom. And then we hype it up and we did the boom. And then we do this real touching tribute to Big E. And then the Usos come out and they tell this great story and they kill it. And then Wale comes out. Now at this point there, we got the crowd going, right? Like, they're ready. And Wale comes out and does this incredible performance and he's pulling people left and right. Jade Cargill comes out with him. He performs Lotus Flower Bomb. It's like a nice serenade, right? He brings out West Side Gun. West Side Gun comes out, does Dr. Bird. Halfway through, they bring it back. You know who's got a microphone and is rapping it? Daniel Garcia. This is what you're getting, right? Then Swerve Strickland comes out. Hit Row come out. They reunite. They perform their original WWE theme song together. Crowd goes crazy. Ricky Starks is there. Will Hobbs is there. I mean, the Guns are there. Rob Van Dam and his wife. He's lighting a blunt on stage, and the crowd's going crazy because he's about to smoke it. I mean, it's everything and anything you want out of a professional wrestling show with your favorite professional wrestlers. Vikingo was there. Karrion Kross was there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is the type of stuff.
Just
like,
you don't know. The what you said with the Swerve and Hit Row reuniting and doing their song, there's literally nowhere else that could happen and nowhere else where it would be allowed to happen.
Exactly.
WWE wouldn't allow that. Like, I think it's just because of the credibility that Wale has and with WWE that you're allowed to get away with that because that just wouldn't happen.
Well, I think it's also a lot of trust as well, right? Like, you're not going to, like, these companies are real protective of their brands and their intellectual properties, i.e. their performers, right? And as they rightfully should be. But I also think it's incredibly telling that they're going to trust 3 dudes with the rollout of it because one, Kaz and I both worked at the company. Kaz was a writer. I was one of 3 people that developed their podcast initiative from the ground up, and Wale is Wale. And they understand that we would never put anybody in a compromised position and it's all love on our side. So they give us a ton of creative freedoms. Both sides do. A ton of creative freedoms to come and kick it on stage and to do that. And then most of the time too, it's what the wrestler wants to do. And Hit Row and Swerve, they're homies. So it's like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to fraternize with your friends, you know what I mean? Like, again, the fans make it a thing, but people that actually work within the circle, it is what it is. So it's a thing like that, and it's a really good time. And it was dope, man, and it was fun, and it's always going to be fun. And it's one of those things that we look forward to doing. It's a lot of prep work for sure, but to sit there and to figure out, okay, who do we want to do? Who wants to come out? What do we want to do? Who's going to be our guest of honor? This year was Trinity Fatu. She came out and, when she said, hey, expect the unexpected, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. And then less than a month later, she's popping up on Impact Wrestling. It's like, that's like, you're getting some sort of exclusive without her saying what it is. And to me, that's just an incredibly dope thing. So I'm blessed to be a part of number 1 and we're going into number 9 this year coming up with the
and I think it's like, it's something cool. It's like something cool, cultural that isn't like, there's no ring, there's no actual wrestling, but it's for wrestling fans. It's something cool. It's for hip hop fans. And it just makes wrestling more cool, I think, where it's not like a dorky Comic-Con. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's just the other, like, I think there's a big hype culture in wrestling, like with wearing, obscure rare T-shirts from 1997. It's very much like the hip hop thing, but like with or like the chalk line merch, So it's cool
Yes,
to see
absolutely.
this element to it that kind of is in that same lifestyle vein.
Well, we're all about the party, right? Like, so
Yeah,
it's like, come vibe with us, tap in. If you drink, have a couple drinks. If you don't, we'll feed off your energy. We'll vibe out together. You're going to listen to some great music and you're going to see some really cool performances. And you're going to see individuals like Samoa Joe come out, grab the mic, and rap Jay-Z's PSA. And Joe created a movie. My name is Hove, H to the Hovey. And then Joe gets really into it because he's the king of television and he knows how to perform for TV. And you're really getting something special. We're all about like the moments and just to bridge off that and go into and connect to other little worlds that go together. It's like what you said, like there was always a connection between hip hop and professional wrestling. Essentially, Rick Ross and The Undertaker are playing characters. The Undertaker is playing a walking Maccabee for about 35 years. Rick Ross is playing a capo drug dealer.
yeah. And hip
You know
hop
what I
is
mean? Like,
basically cutting promos. You're cutting a promo with your song,
yeah,
like
you are.
essentially.
Now listen, you are telling stories that are indicative to your youth and maybe some things that you've seen or heard, like Ghostface, and I've had him on my pod and I've had on Inspector Deck, and the things that they rapped about with things that they seen and witnessed and heard. So it's like it's real indicative to the storytelling to cut that promo for that realism, but it's still a promo of sorts. So to me, it's just like, yeah, this is cool, man. And we tapped into something real dope. And my love and admiration for Wale and Kazim Famuidi for saying we're doing this together as a family.
Yeah,
It's about us. It's great, and I look
that's
forward
great.
to doing it. I look forward to doing it every year. So you got to come to Philly, man.
I'm there. It's a drive. I don't have to I don't have to fly this time. I can do it. All right. Well, let's talk about Backlash. I'm so excited that we're getting a pay-per-view in Puerto Rico. I think a big underrated sell point of this show is how insane the crowd is going to be, because anytime I watch any footage from Puerto Rico, old or relatively recent, even from like the last few years, the crowd just goes insane. And
Oh
that is what I
yeah,
love about pro wrestling. The crowd
absolutely.
is a character. They're collectively one part of the show, and when like you said, when that energy is going back and forth, even with the live show,
Mhm.
it brings the whole thing up. So the crowd this is going to be like I think on par with the Clash at the Castle crowd of those drunken the drunken UK people. So that's the thing I think I'm most looking forward to. How about yourself?
I mean, Puerto Rico has such a rich history of professional wrestling. I mean, it can go back to, seeing guys like Bruiser Brody versus, Abdullah the Butcher, or, the Colognes running wreck. So like that's just the golden like era of wrestling, like that real classic era that really embraced wrestling, where they would like throw rocks in the ring if their favorite lost, or cups of urine and whatever. Roddy Piper used to tell these incredible stories where he had piss thrown at him and batteries, and he said that he knew he rocked a a Puerto Rico crowd if there was somebody threatening him with violence. And that was the most important thing, was to always work the crowd. And the crowd is so passionate and they get into it. And I personally like when they do overseas shows and they
Agreed.
do shows in other countries, because it's just, sometimes it feels like it's just for us and we don't really know the reach of professional wrestling or how far wrestling's tentacles could go. And so, like, if you can do something like a Clash of the Castle or AEW in Wembley or Backlash in Puerto Rico, like, who's to say that they can't do WWE pay-per-view in Brazil, or they can't do WWE in France, or they can't do, WWE in Hawaii or wherever, like, Give us more than just like, okay, we're going to make the rounds, we're going to make the towns in the United States. Like, no, show me like some really dope arenas across the world, because that's what I want to see. Like, I legitimately want to see what you guys do. WrestleMania should, like, there should be a WrestleMania in Tokyo. There should be a WrestleMania in London. That yes, absolutely. I would love to do WaleMania in London. Like, that's, like, you know what I mean? Like, selfishly, yes, go to London. Let's really like open that up. Go to Wembley. Let's do it there, and then we can have a WaleMania in London. Like, that's the thing. So, I also think that having Bad Bunny, the biggest global performer in the world right now, as one of your ambassadors, as your host, and most likely is going to get the main event. I would hope he would get the main event against Damian Priest, another Puerto Rican performer. It's going to be incredible, and the storyline between him and Priest has been like several years now, where Priest was his guy when Bad Bunny made his debut, and he tagged with him when he was the United States champion. And now that Priest is the big baddie, in the Judgment Day was targeting Rey Mysterio. Bad Bunny didn't like that, came to raise aid along with the other members of the LWO. And you get what you get now. And then he came in 2 weeks ago and was cracking that kendo stick and was cutting that promo, and Damian Priest is cutting that promo back, and they're yelling at each other in Spanish. And I'm like, this is what they need to do more of. You need to have, if your talent could speak another language, I want that other language on camera. I think it works. It worked when Cesaro would speak like the 5 languages that he would speak. Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka and Io Sky speaking Japanese. Yes, have your Spanish talent speak Spanish. It adds to the realism. It keeps it super organic. And so to see that Damian Priest this past week on Raw was cutting most of his promo in Spanish, I think that's super cool. I
agree.
I can't understand Spanish, but hell, man, I'm right there with you. I'm watching like, yeah, man, he's saying some real shit right now. Like, and to me, that's incredibly cool. So, and I think the card's really good. It's a strong card, even without the head of the table, the tribal chief, God mode, him not being there doesn't hinder the pay-per-view. Like, would it make it more special if he was there? Yeah, but is he needed? No, you got Cody and Brock, and you got Bad Bunny. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I agree. And they've been on a great string of pay-per. They haven't had a bad pay-per-view in a really, really long time.
No.
Because the work rate is top level right now. Like the matches themselves will always deliver. It's like what's questionable is perhaps the storylines or the outcome. That's the wild card. But the match, the body of the match will be great. And there's some great matches on this. I think I'm really excited for Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, mostly because I can't figure out who the winner will be, because there's an argument to be made for both of them. Obviously, Bad Bunny's the big worldwide star. He's going to get you, like, him getting a pinfall will be on ESPN. It'll be on MTV. It'll be, it'll get the thing, but Bad Bunny's not going to be there the next day. He's gone.
Right.
And Damian Priest is going to be the guy that, you want. So you can't make him look too weak.
Well, let me ask you a question. What's the better optic and what gets the better clip? Bad Bunny getting a 3 count, or Bad Bunny getting chokeslammed through a table?
But they already got that. They already got that 2 weeks ago.
Right, but who says that you're not going to see something even more insane?
Right. Well, Bad Bunny is a wrestling fan. Bad Bunny wants to do something. Like, Bad Bunny pulled out that the Destroyer or whatever at WrestleMania, and it's like, what? Like, so I know he's going to want to do something. There's going to be a highlight reel to send to MTV, but I think, to your point, for maximum exposure, Bad Bunny gets the win. Maybe Rey Mysterio and LWO help. It is a street fight, so
yeah,
there's going to be shenanigans. And so I guess if there's enough shenanigans, maybe it's just there's going to be a big stunt at the end that either way it gets it going.
shenanigans are what make professional wrestling professional wrestling. So it's like, give me all of it. I want all the pomp, all the circumstance. Give me it all. I don't care about that outcome because I know both of them are going to deliver and they're going to crush it. And Bad Bunny has never not been entertaining with anything that he's done. You know, I mean, the man brought the didn't he bring the 24/7 championship to Saturday Night Live
Yes.
when he was
Or
24?
yes.
See,
I mean, that's huge.
like that's massive, man. And
Yeah.
I think it works. So whatever they do decide, it's going to be a street fight. I would love for them to brawl the streets of Puerto Rico. I would
Oh
love for them
God.
to really pop off in San Juan, But again, I don't know what they will do. But I gotta tell you, I know what I'm doing Saturday. I'm
Yeah,
watching
I'm
that
watching it.
babe, man.
I'm pumped. Yeah.
I'm all in. And it's also too. I'm glad to see that the Viking Raiders are taking on the OC as well because it's good to see Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows in a
Was that
WWE
announced?
ring. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
happening? Oh, I didn't.
yeah. That's
I
happening.
missed
Yeah,
that. That's great.
if you go on Gallows
Good
and
for them.
Anderson's, if you go on Gallows and Anderson's Instagram pages, they big it up.
Oh, this is hot news.
Listen, Uncle Alan, AJ Styles, hasn't been on TV in a hot minute because
Yeah,
he
it's
had
been
an
too
injury.
long.
He came back, and hopefully they will be the group that really runs havoc on SmackDown. And the next tag team feud should be Gallows and Anderson and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens after this whole bloodline situation. I think that's done. I don't know how many more times you can
Yeah.
have a
Well, I think the big blow
WrestleMania
off. Yeah.
rematch. I thought, to be honest with you, I thought the blow off it ended at WrestleMania for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they need this third match. I mean, it's going to be good because all 6 competitors are freaking great. Also,
Right.
how good is Solo Sikoa's entrance theme? That intro has been stuck in my head for weeks.
I think it's only a matter of time before you put a secondary championship on him. And
Oh yeah,
if I'm them, the only one that should defeat. No, wait a minute. No, wait. See, this is where this draft gets very complicated because now, did Theory go to SmackDown or is
yes,
Theory still all right? So because I was going to say the one that should defeat Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, because it seems like they're doing everything in this modern era, right? Where like all the records from the 60s, 70s, and 80s are going to be a moot point after this. Like Roman's going to break 1,400 days as world champion, right? The Usos became the longest reigning WWE tag team champions, right? Beat out the New Day and beat out Demolition. Roman's going to beat out Hogan, and Roman's going to beat out Pedro, and Roman's going to beat out Bob Backlund. So those 3 guys right there. I don't think anybody will ever touch Bruno Sammartino's because of that combined reign, which is like 2,000. But also, too, if you Google it and you look at the reign, Bruno's 2 runs are about 1,400 days apiece. So what will happen is if you're talking singular runs, not combined reigns, Roman Reigns will probably be the second guy under Bruno Sammartino, which is impressive.
that would be another year then, right? Because he's at 1,000.
It would be
over
it'll be
1,400.
going to it would go into
Like
WrestleMania
next
40. No,
Yeah.
we're going to WrestleMania 40. So that would be around there because he's already at a little over 900 days now. So it's like you do the math, and he's almost at like 400, and he's going to surpass CM Punk's record as WWE champion. So they're breaking all these records because they want a modernized version of these records that won't get touched until we're probably old men again. So those are cool, but I think the moments are more important than the milestones because now it's like, where do you go from here? Does Cody finish the story? It seems like he's going to. What's next for the bloodline? Where do Jimmy and Jay go? Do they get some much needed time off as well? Now you got to give Solo Sikoa the singles run where Solo Sikoa could be a babyface easily because he does so much by saying so little, and he kills it with the facial expressions. So it's only a matter of time before he takes on I guess now Theory, because they're on SmackDown as well, right? The Bloodline. So now it's like put the United States Championship on him. You're muted, bro.
One burp and I ruin everything. I think Solo
Just burp on camera, man. It's okay.
You're right. You're right. What am I doing?
Your show.
Solo versus Roman, I think, is like the program. Like that's what I want to see eventually. Like not for a year and a half. Like that would be great because I think the Bloodline. Like I want to see Roman versus Jay, Roman versus Solo, but it's gonna take a while. I'm here for the ride.
Well, I think in that aspect, yes. I think if anybody becomes WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, yeah, I would love to see Cody Rhodes do it because Cody Rhodes is arguably their biggest babyface that they've had like since John Cena. You know what I mean? Like that prototypical babyface. As far as like to me, who runs and owns and holds down Monday Night Raw as a brand, it's always been Seth Rollins. But the person that I really want to see become champion and dethrone Roman Reigns is his cousin Jey Uso, because it goes back to the Thunderdome era. And what better way to end it? Even if you give him a short run.
I'm with it. He deserves it. He's stepped up his
very
game.
Talented.
Like
he's very talented.
His emotional range with like some of those promos, all of them. Like it's been so compelling. It's been so great and so exciting. I love SmackDown. It's the best show WWE produces.
It is.
With Raw, I skip a few weeks here and there. SmackDown I watch every week because it's such a great watch. The matches are always good and the storylines are super engaging. So yeah, I agree with you. I do think that Jay deserves the title. I think he could be a credible champion. I agree. It doesn't have to be, a 400-day run. It could be a few months, but he deserves it.
Give me that 120-day sweet spot and you're good to go.
Yeah, like a 3-month run. I think that's fine.
It's fine.
Emilio, I feel like we could talk for like another 3 hours. I love that we can probably.
I got to have you on Wrasslerap. I got to have you on my podcast.
Oh, it would be an honor. It would be an honor to flip the script and be interviewed by you. and no, obviously check out Wrasslerap. There's a unique spelling to it.
WRAS Wrassle. WRASSLERAP. Follow that on Twitter and Instagram. It's hosted by me and the Mighty Vin. Somebody who is probably one of the best opinionists and just people that can deconstruct and construct professional wrestling. I absolutely adore my co-host. I think he's a super talented dude. So it's always a fun time too. And we break off and we'll talk about other nonsense outside of just professional wrestling. Like I'm a big Roadhouse guy. So sometimes we'll go into Roadhouse or why I like Moneyball. So it's like just weird stuff. So if you're into like conversation that does deviate from time to time in professional wrestling, and we will talk of if I'm bumping a new Currency album or if I'm listening to something from Griselda Records, I'm going to tell you why the record's hot and why you should go support it. So things of that nature.
Well, awesome. You can check out that and Emilio Sparks on the social medias, of course.
Follow me, please.
Follow a lot of great tweets about Baywatch.
Huge Baywatch episodes. Guy. Huge Baywatch.
Love Baywatch.
I started rewatching it because my insomnia is just dog shit. It's bad, dude. So it's just like I can't sleep. I got Pluto TV. I'm just there. There's a full channel, and I'm just sitting there like, oh man, what is Mitch getting himself into today? Oh, I gotta share this because this plot is ridiculous, bro.
I love the failed spinoff Baywatch Nights. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
That went 5 seasons, pal. That wasn't a fail. That went 5 seasons.
Oh my god.
That went 5 seasons.
For some reason, it felt like it was such a. But I watched it.
It didn't go 11 like Baywatch did.
Yeah, right.
But it went 5.
Yeah, because it was like Saturday mornings were for cartoons and wrestling. Saturday mid-afternoon evenings, Baywatch baby,
and
Baywatch,
and
then like
series.
Xena and Hercules were on.
All of those syndicated programs that didn't necessarily have a home, but you can watch them anywhere across the country and they would be on your specific channel. Like it was Renegade starring Lorenzo Lamas. It was Stargate SG-1s.
I watched all of those.
It was Xena. It was Hercules. It was Baywatch. It was Baywatch Nights. It was Sequest. It was all of them. Like a Highlander the series as well. So it's just like all of those really dope programs, and they're all on Pluto TV. And I'm like, yes, let's go.
All right, man. I will keep you from your Pluto watching any further. Thank you again for your time.
Listen,
And-
it was my pleasure that we finally actually got to do this.
Yeah.
And this is the most we spoke, and we worked together for quite a few years.
It's true, because we would always be like in the hallway or something, and it's like, oh, what are we doing here?
Right,
Like,
I'm gonna go eat the stale pretzel. You're gonna go do some metal thing.
yeah.
You know,
And we'll talk later.
We'll talk later, and then
Yeah.
you know I'm gonna go take something off Sean the Butcher's desk and anger him, and then put it back later on. So that was what we would do, and it was cool. Then real quick, I gotta share this real quick with you. Then do you know where we actually got like real cool? Where I seen you? Do you know where it was?
Was it Madison Square Garden?
No, bro. No, it was in Dallas for the G1 with New Japan Pro Wrestling at the press conference.
I totally forgot about that. Yes, you were like the one guy that I knew at the press conference, and we were like the only ones asking music questions. Everyone else was asking like shoot, like try weird, like, oh, are you gonna get a push? And it's like he's in character. He's not gonna talk about his push.
No, but what I want to know is Sonata-san. What are you listening to in your headphones?
Same.
Like
we were the only ones.
and they would give us some really great answers. And like I still have, when Evil was handing out those, he had these tarot cards that he would do as like an act. And randomly the only one that he gave anybody was me, and it was Kazuchika Okada's. And then he said something in Japanese I didn't understand and left. And so I tried to give it back to Rocky Romero, and Rocky's like, nah, just keep it. Okay. Thanks, Rock.
My one memory from that was Jay White being so annoyed and would rather be anywhere else.
Right.
Thought all the questions were so stupid. And then it got to me and I was like, hey, what are you listening to? And he was like, finally, something I could answer. All right, I'm listening to this.
Right. Right.
Awesome.
What I'm going to the gym. What can I listen to and do? What am I listening to that's really gonna get me pumped up from your side of the world? What am I doing?
If you're liking Code Orange, there's Knock Loose, there's Vane. There's like a lot of these cool new up and coming hardcore bands. Greg from Dillinger Escape Plan and Every Time I Die have a new band that sounds amazing. It's called Better Lovers. They only have a single though, but just put on that single. Let Spotify do the rest.
I'm with it. Rob, thank you so much, man. This was an absolute blast. The time flew by.
Love it. Yes.
So I appreciate you. I normally don't do a lot of these. So
my pleasure. Thank you for your time. Then I feel honored that you took the time with me.
My man. Thank you very much, bro.